From the greatest city on the planet Earth.
It's the Tom and Mickey Show.
Everything is showbiz.
Lights, camera,
Action.
presenting
Manny Azenberg, Putting It Together. This episode is one that is very special for me and for Tom. We're so thrilled to introduce you to Manny Azenberg, amongst friends, and we're all friends. Hopefully a lot of you out there know that name, but many will not. What I can tell you is Manny Azenberg is one of the most successful Broadway producers of all time. He is respected, beloved, and beyond being a producer, he's a mensch. He is a good person, a friend. Every word he speaks is something to hang on for a moment. Because at 91 years old, he's got a little bit of life under his belt. I had the pleasure and privilege of studying with Manny at Duke University, where he had taught for 20 years. When I signed up for that class, I had no idea what I was getting into. I knew I would get a great education about the theater. I knew that there would be some great stories about the theater, and we really loved those. But what I didn't realize is that it was going to be a sort of guidebook for life. He has made more magic happen on the Great White Way than probably any other living producer today. I'm proud to call him my mentor and my friend, and to welcome him to this episode.
The American Theater Wing's Guide to Careers in the Theater. This session, The Producer.
I'm Ted Chapin, and with me is Manny Azenberg, one of Broadway's premier producers, who has at least one, if not more, shows on Broadway at the moment. It's 2001. What is a producer?
I wondered about that in the early years of my life in the theater. I didn't quite know what a producer did. I understood what managers did as time went on. And then when I became a producer, I not so jokingly said, a producer does two things. He chooses the play to produce, and he tells them when to close it. Both decisions are difficult. And we used to do this from the reading of a play. You would get a play, you'd read it, and you'd say, yes, I want to do that play. That was a big decision. It was also, if not a creative decision, it was one that had sensibility in it. So you were judged by what plays you produced. So if you produced a rinky-dink comedy, then you were judged that way. If you chose to do something that aspired to something better, then you at least got those kind of credits, and you wanted those credits.
For his long and distinguished career on Broadway, veteran producer Emmanuel Azenberg is the recipient of the Special Tony Award for Lifetime Achievement. His impressive list of productions includes more than 20 shows written by Neil Simon, which have earned 8 Tony Awards and 25 nominations. Mr. Azenberg has brought more than 60 productions to Broadway, receiving a total of 134 Tony nominations and winning 41 Tony Awards.
It is our pleasure to present this special Lifetime Achievement Tony Award to Manny Azenberg.
I'd like to dedicate these next few moments to my wife, Lonnie, and my 5 adult children, whose names I can't remember right now. Karen, Lisa, Rebecca, Jessica, and Josh. Producers don't get these awards without the extraordinary efforts of writers, directors, actors, designers, stage managers, stagehands, singers, dancers. Since the first Broadway show I worked on was in 1959, I would literally have to thank thousands. Many of you are in these aisles, wonderfully in those aisles still. So my first song will be from George Gershwin.
Well, here we are, Mr. Manny Azenberg.
Yes.
What does it feel like to be a living legend?
I don't consider myself a living legend. And it's not pseudo-humility. I really don't feel like a living legend. I think that I'm satisfied with my theatrical career. I'm also satisfied with my time at Duke University. And I'm satisfied in my marriage. And my kids are okay. Instead of being a living legend, it's just, I did okay.
For anyone who may not know the name Emmanuel Azenberg, Manny, he is a satisfactory producer. He produced some satisfactory shows that won some very satisfactory Tony Awards and other awards. Manny, you did how many shows? 10, 12?
It's arguably that did we produce 68 or 70 Broadway shows?
Oh, I didn't carry the two. Oh.
But no, my daughter will argue that they close so quickly that we don't count them.
Oh, no, it still counts. It counts.
They count. Those
So
count.
the total is about 160 something shows.
And that's not nothing.
And it really happened. And it wasn't, right now there are 600 people above the title. It wasn't that. It was It was the office and the people I was associated with.
Do you even know how many Tony Awards you've won? Can we quiz you?
Nine. We have about 40 nominations, but
My information says 11. 10, and then a special
I
lifetime
only have
achievement.
9 in the cupboard where they
Call the
hidden.
police.
But
There's been a burglary.
but these days, since so many people have Tonys,
Yes.
Oh, everybody
we
gets
can,
one now.
Maybe old Tonys kind of, excuse me, old Tonys get, have children. They generate. If they sit in the cupboard and they meet another Tony.
Okay. Well, for the record, according to Wikipedia, it's 11 Tony Awards and 10 Drama Desk Awards. But
I never
Who's
thought of the
counting?
Drama Desk Awards as anything. You don't get anything. So
you don't
we
get anything.
You don't
forget
remember.
it. They've got to give you something.
The Drama Desk are just people who wrote for newspapers. Then there was a Critics Award. We have a society filled with awards. There's an award for everything.
Of course.
The Golden Globes. You know who attend? You know what the Golden Globes are? The equivalent in the theater was the Outer Critics Circle Award.
Yes.
And that would be a dinner late in the season at Sardi's at 11 o'clock. And people from the Aufbau and the Zeitung from Germany, that was the Outer Critics. And they actually came for the food, not for the...
And they came to Sardi's for the food, which says a
all
lot.
these awards, you can...
Yeah. Well, we get a real estate award every year, Biggest.
Is there any place that doesn't have an award? We made up our own awards in the shows that we did. So when we did Iceman, we gave out the Hickey Awards. and everybody got them. When we did Jerome Robbins Broadway, we had a house in Connecticut in those days, and we had beautiful trophies, and we threw them in the pool, and you had to dive for them.
All right.
And it came up, and it had Mickey Conlon, and you had to give a speech about Mickey Conlon.
I love that.
In all the Neil Simon plays we did, there was the Neilman Awards. Neil and Manny. Okay. And when we did The Real Thing, we gave awards to the Schuberts. And Bernie Jacobs was the head of the Schuberts, and his wife got the Lifetime Achievement Award for living with Bernie Jacobs.
Well deserved.
So the attitude to awards, it's very nice. And you go up there and you're very grateful for receiving it.
Mm-hmm. Well, as Marilyn May says, if you don't take yourself too seriously, others will. Which is kind of a fun quote, right?
I have to think about that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good.
All right, he likes it. He likes score one for Marilyn May.
We did. I did some shows with singers.
Tell us.
I did a show with Judy Garland.
Oh, yes.
And Lina Horne, and Barbara Cooke, and Barbra Streisand. And I say that very cavalierly, and it didn't, when we did it, we just did it. Mm-hmm. But when you say it to people who don't know, they go, oh, it was Judy Garland at the Palace.
Wow.
Jimmy Nederlander called me up and asked, would you manage this? And I said, no, I didn't want to do it because Judy keeps people in the theater till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm.
And Jimmy said, I don't care if you go backstage. Just make sure Sid Luft doesn't steal. That was the ex-husband who was the nominal producer, but Jimmy Nederlander put up the money. It was the biggest love fest I've ever seen. And it was an education.
Wow. Did you get to know her personally at all?
No, I didn't. I went backstage, of course, but it was waving.
Yeah.
And she did keep people backstage after the show with, and it was drinking and pills and stuff. But the audience, as you know, was the first night was a gay audience, well-dressed, with flowers. And when she came out, tears, people crying. When she sat on the edge of the stage and sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I had never seen an emotion on the stage like that. And that was a few years ago.
Do you have any insight as to what it was about the gay audience that Judy so tapped into? What's your take on that? I mean, we have
think
our
of what the song is.
Yeah.
Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And for a gay audience, for a gay existence, somewhere over the rainbow, there's a better life. This is 1968, and to be gay in 1968, there was still lynching in Wyoming, remember?
Yeah.
So it made sense. And for a straight guy, it was an education.
Wow.
Oh. And it was night after night. I mean, one way or the other. In my life, it was a moment.
We first met, it was about 30 years ago. And I looked in the mirror and I thought, that can't be right. And I look at you and I still think, that can't be right. That's...
Well, we were on that Conestoga wagon.
What brought you to Duke? How did that start?
I had my daughter was a student at Duke. I went down to visit, and Duke is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's like paradise. And somebody said, would you like to teach a course? And I had taught something at Yale Graduate School. And I did it because I wanted to, that's how I would see my kid. And I fell in love with the idea of that course. The fundamental in the course was I would give them in a semester 30 plays to read, and they would have to write a one-page, single-spaced, visceral response. In other words, not an intellectual nonsense but how you respond. You make noises. You go, oh, that's good. Or, yuck, it's bad. Well, write that. Instead of creating an opinion that satisfies the professor. And it sort of worked. And the kids had a hard time finding that visceral response. Because when I was at Duke, I gave them a play which we were about to do called Brighton Beach Memoirs. It was a Neil Simon play. And the graduate students found it odious and loathsome because it wasn't Strindberg, Ibsen, and Chekhov. And we hadn't done the play. So one girl came up after the class and said she liked it, but was afraid to say so. Then the play opened, and it was an enormous success. So since being an Old Testament Jew, I went back to get even. And I told the Yaleys that I didn't think they were the smartest people in the world because they have just rejected probably the most successful comedy in 2 decades.
Wow.
And that became the idea for the course, is that rip the covers off them so nobody knows who wrote it, and tell me what you think so you find your opinion. And don't be afraid of it, because all the arts are subjective.
Yeah.
You like this, I like that, and you're not better, and I'm not better than... And hopefully, you gain confidence to trust your opinion, and you don't feel intimidated. And for some kids, it actually worked.
I remember I loved that exercise, and I don't think we really understood what we were getting into. But when I had worked, you may remember I worked in London with Cameron McIntosh, and I just thought, there's a path to earning money in the theater. This is fascinating to me. So when I came back to Duke, I asked around, and there really wasn't much of a mechanism. They had classes for not-for-profit. I said, and I'm for-profit. I'm a capitalist at heart. And yeah, I love the business, but there's some money to be made. And your class was not, it stripped away everything we were taught, which is, this is what's great theater, this is not great theater, Shakespeare is the bard of all time. But there have been others along the way, and you allowed us to explore that. And I remember one script that you gave us, and as soon as I opened it, I beamed, because my visceral reaction was baked in. It was Sunday in the Park with George, which Manny produced. And I remember the one question I had in front of the class, which was, I know the play, I know the show. I said, but what about the second act? How did you get investors with that second act? And do you remember what you said?
I said the same thing to Stephen Sondheim, because when they did the presentation, they only did the first act. And as we left the first presentation, I asked Stephen Sondheim, what is the second act? And he said, don't worry. After the show opened, I went up to him, and it was somewhat successful. I said, we should have worried. Because the second act has 2 great songs in it.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's like from another world.
Yeah.
And that show has a great reputation, but the second act is never good. It took me a long time to appreciate. We did it, and months, or a couple of months, or some period afterwards, I got it. Finishing The Hat, Children and Art, and but it didn't pay back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it ran for a season and a half, and it is a legendary show now. I don't think it's Sondheim's best show. I think that the ones he did early, which are less complicated, are brilliant. West Side Story, Gypsy, and Forum, which now nobody can do because it's not politically okay, and Sweeney Todd. Who would think play about a guy who makes meat pies out of people would be a successful play?
Wholesome family entertainment.
Yeah.
The concession stand should have sold something like that.
Meat pie.
Yes.
Mrs. Lovett's meat pies.
Bring in someone whom you've killed, and by the end of the first act, we'll have food for you.
No vegans allowed.
The Mafia's favorite show.
Jeffrey Seller just produced a revival last year, and it was a success, and a commercial success. It was a different kind of theater where, when you worked with Neil Simon or Athol Fugard or Stoppard, you were included. You have to separate the fact that you're not the creator. But if you have some sort of aesthetic sensibility, and the story that I tell about that is that when we did The Real Thing, the Stoppard play, I didn't want to be asked any questions because Stoppard is a genius and brilliant and knowledgeable. So I hid in the back of the theater in Boston in the tryouts. And then there was a tap on the shoulder. And he said, "What do you think?" And I blurted out. 10 minutes into the second act, I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at the scenery. And he nodded his head. 3-4 days later, he came over and said, "Is it better?" And it was a lesson that don't tell him what to write, but tell him when you're not engaged. And since that, I would see all of his plays, and he'd ask me the same question. And I tried to give a visceral response rather than some sort of essay I might write that showed I was intelligent. Sometimes in the theater, it's very hard. You have a visceral response, and it's negative. And how do you get out of the theater if you know people who have done the work?
Yeah. We were recently at an opening night, and we just made eye contact with people we knew shared our opinions. We obeyed the 75-yard rule. I think we extended it to 300 yards, just get away from the theater.
Mary Tyler Moore had an answer for that. She said, "You get up and you walk quickly, as if the car is going to pull away. And you don't stop. You wave." And Mike Nichols said, "Yes, that's good. But then when you bump into people, you say, 'You've done it again.' And you keep going."
Exactly.
But you cannot stop.
Yeah.
Once you stop, boom, well, what did you think? Well, it's terrible.
Right.
And then you lose a friend. Yeah. When I started in this business, the top ticket price in 1962 was a funny thing happened on the way to the Forum. It's Sondheim's first musical. The top ticket price was $9.10. And everybody said, "Who's going to break the $10 barrier?" And that went on. So when Chorus Line opened, which was 1975, 13 years later, the top ticket price was $15. And now, if you called for house seats for Merrily, it was $600. The people from the Bronx and Brooklyn and Staten Island can't go to the theater. And we did not nurture an audience. Yeah. And kind of greed has taken over. If you really want to have a conversation about that, we can go on for a while. And I think Broadway is becoming a theme park rather than a cultural center.
Agreed. Yeah. For a long time, we were completists. We'd want to see everything that happened in the season. And come December, when the Times would post all the closing notice, we'd highlight things and start getting tickets. Like, okay, that one's January 5th. We've got to get in there, and we'll do a matinee, and we'll do an evening. And we'd really try to see everything. We don't work that hard anymore.
Now, there's so little that we've wanted
You'd have to sell the apartment to see
Well,
all
that too.
the show. We saw 3 good plays this year.
Tell us, what are they?
Hills of California, first-rate play. A first-rate play.
Okay.
Sam Mendes directed it, and he knows what he's doing. And then Eureka Day, and The Cult of Love. Is it called The Cult of Love? That was a courageous play. I thought that was good. I don't think any of them will make their money back. And that's indicative that as this price rise and the costs have gone up, the plays have disappeared in terms of economics. When we did plays in the old days, even Neil Simon's plays were $300,000, $500,000.
Later on, maybe $1 million. Now a play is $7 million.
That doesn't
$6,
even
$7
make
million.
sense.
You can't recover.
No.
And the audience, there's no young people in there. It doesn't bode well.
Mm-hmm.
And musicals are now $25 million. Well, you know something about the economics.
Yeah.
$25 million. You have a show that breaks even at $1 million a week, and it grosses 734. Where does the rest of it come from? So you're going to chase out the producer, who's a genuine producer, and replace it with inordinate amounts of money.
Yes.
Some Like It Hot cost $25 million and another 5 or 6 afterwards.
I'll tell a story about one investor I had years ago. It was her first time investing in a show. And she said, break this down for me. I said, sure. I give you $100,000. Okay. I get to go to the opening night. You absolutely do. Yes.
That's worth the $25.
I get to go to the party afterwards, certainly. And I get to meet the stars of the show. I said, I will make it my personal mission to introduce you to anybody you want to meet. She said, but after opening night, the show could close and I'd lose all my money.
Yes.
I said, it's unlikely, but that is correct. She said, so it's $100,000 to have a really exciting story to tell. I'm in. I said, that is the ideal investor.
This is why he went into the real estate business, Manny.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
The best story about that is that the young producer goes over to the rich guy and says, if we get a good royalty deal and a good theater deal and the right star, we have a good chance of getting our money back. And the guy says, I already have my money back. And it's valid.
It is valid.
Yeah.
And you get suckered in on the big successes, like Rent paid back 20 to 1.
Yeah.
Hamilton and Lion King and Wicked. But the theme park attitude is represented by the fact that in my first 30 years, shows didn't run 10 years. The longest running show was Fiddler, and it ran 7 years, but a play would run a season, maybe a year and a half, and musicals would run 3 years. Now we have Lion King at 25 and Wicked at 25 and Hamilton is at 10. And that's just like a theme park.
Mm-hmm.
So you went to Orlando and the mountain ride was really good. So when we go the second time, Shirley, we had a great time the first time. Let's go again. And that's who's going.
Yeah.
So the same people are seeing shows over and over again.
Yep. That's my father.
Your dad? He kept Jersey Boys on Broadway.
My father grew up in Brooklyn. Lenny Postilio. I tried desperately to bring him every year. We would say, Mom and Dad, they live out in suburban Long Island in a cul-de-sac with a lawn and whatever. They refused to leave. I said, we could put you in a nice condo. No, we're staying here. I don't want to pack. Okay. So we would take them into the city once a year to see a show, something that we thought that they would like. There was a streak there for a couple of years. We took them to see La Cage aux Folles one year. The following year, we took them to see The Boy from Oz. And leaving the theater after The Boy from Oz, my father took me aside, do men kiss in every Broadway show? I said, Pop, you just happen to see 2 in a row where that was a theme, so. But anyway,
they never kissed in Jersey Boys.
No. And not that there's anything wrong with men kissing, but...
That's like a Seinfeld line. Not that it's anything wrong.
But my father attached to Jersey Boys because that's his music and all that. And every year for the next 5 years, we went. We didn't go. We sent them. We got them house seats and he went to see Jersey Boys. Ridiculous. What do you think? It's ridiculous.
In one sense, it's ridiculous because they should go to see everything.
Right.
That's what the theater audience that you want.
Yeah.
In other sense, it's kind of folksy nice that you would relate to, hey, and you'd hear the songs you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's okay. It just, put it this way. Tom Stoppard says, for all the arts, you have to become an initiate. The door has to open and you have to walk in. Now, we who grew up in the Bronx and Brooklyn, the word ballet didn't exist. You know, you made fun of it if it came up. And I married a dancer. So I can't make fun of ballet, and she makes me go.
Okay.
Well, the door opened. And I said, hey, that's pretty good. And you realize you're an initiate.
Yeah.
You made fun of it, and now, hey, those are athletes up there.
They sure are.
And the same thing is true, unless you're born like Mozart. Somebody has to take you to the theater or to a ballet or to an opera or to a ball game, and you have to go, oh, look at that. I like that. Let's go again.
How did you meet Lonnie? Tell us more.
Lonnie was a dancer in a show, The Rothschilds. That was Bach and Horne's show right after Fiddler. I was the general manager. That's when we met. She was going out with somebody else. 3 years later, we dated. And it is now, from that date, 51 years.
Wow. Mazel tov. We have a lot of catching up to do.
I know. Don't rush it.
What was the communication between first meeting and then the 3 years later on the first date?
Well, she's going to hear this, so I'm going to get killed. This is my eulogy to myself. That she was gorgeous.
Obviously.
And it sustained for our lives. That it was an unlikely, it's the odd couple, you know. There's an age difference. It's not huge, but there's an age difference, and there's a cultural difference. Lonnie comes from Seattle, or an island in Puget Sound near Seattle, and I'm from the Bronx, and it's two different worlds. But the attractions, the differences are as attractive as the similarities. Last week we celebrated 41 marriage, 48 living together, and a few more years of dating.
That's
And 3 kids. And she did 14 Broadway shows.
Wow.
Cats.
Now and forever.
Yes, my recollection, and I'll get abused for this, is that we were living together for 7 years, and she was doing Cats. And she walked out one day and said, we're getting married, no having children, that's the end of it. And that's what, and I went,
That's exactly the right answer.
It was total sense, yes.
Okay.
And Cats was a big success.
We've heard of it.
That was the first Broadway musical. My brother and I, we were obviously much younger back in whatever the 80s, but that was the first show that we took my parents to. Oh, and we got a Lincoln Continental stretch limousine to come into Manhattan, and I think we had dinner at what's the restaurant that twirls around? Not
Top
the
of the Sixes?
No, the one at the hotel. That's a theater in Times Square. They used to have a restaurant there.
Didn't they have one at the Marriott?
The Marriott, yes, something very classy. A Marriott, beautiful.
I love to spin while I eat.
I want to touch on. Did you see Bloody Andrew Jackson?
Yes.
Did you know Michael Friedman at all? That wonderfully talented man.
No, it was. My recollection was, this is the biggest sound I have ever heard, and my ears are hurting.
Did you see it downtown or on Broadway? Broadway, okay.
And I didn't get it. there are generational issues that happen when you get older that sometimes I can adjust to it and sometimes I don't. And that's just being truthful. And you can't deny an audience having a good time. My first experience with that was Annie. You may have liked it. If that kid sang tomorrow, one more time, I would have had a rifle to kill him. And it ran 700 years and everybody loved it. And so what can you say? You know, and then you discover that sometimes your opinion comes out of your own bigotry or your own petty envy.
Shooting Annie. Bloody Bloody, that was an important show for me. And this is one of these Manny moments when the class was as much about life as it was about theater. And it's not how art relates to life. It's just like, this is a really good roadmap to shake up your still soft brains and approach the world through a new set of eyes, through a new lens, and think of things differently. And you always helped me to turn things on their head. But one of those, I had been through a string of frustrating relationships with other producers and the shows I was working on. And one of those, I came to you, I don't know if you remember this, but I came to you because a show I was working on, the lead producer had shuffled things around, and it was not above board. I didn't feel comfortable keeping my investors in the show. And I said, this is not what I signed up for. I want out. He said, you can't leave and your investors can't leave. And I came to you for advice because I was afraid. I was like, I didn't want to raise any more money for the show, but I didn't think it was the right thing to do for my investors. I wanted them to have the freedom to go, but I was afraid he was going to sue me. And you said something very profound. You said, he's not going to sue you. He has no fucking money. I was like, that's the crux of the problem. That's why he's upset, because he has no fucking money. That made me feel so much better. And then we talked about the kinds of projects and the kinds of people I should align myself with. And Michael Friedman, who is the composer for Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, really got me excited, and we became friends. And you said, find your people and stick with them.
You find your most people find their contemporaries.
Mm-hmm.
The old line producers weren't going to hire me.
Mm-hmm.
But the first play I did was The Lion in Winter. Was Jimmy Goldman. We were friends. And Holbrook and Mark Twain, we were friends. And they were struggling. I was going to ask you, what grade did you get in my class? Do you remember?
Do we get grades? I think I did very well.
Well, the rules were this.
Oh boy!
So if he tells you what a great student he was, that if you showed up, you got a B.
Okay.
You were judged between a B and an A, but if you missed the class, unless you were ill, you just were cavalier, then you lost a half a grade each time you missed the class. So even if you wrote great papers all the time and you got an A, and if you missed 2 classes, no, you got a B.
I never missed a class. Not ever.
So those were the rules.
Okay.
And so somebody said, well, how do you know whether you're getting an A or a B plus? I said, it's my judgment. And I'm not judging you on your intellect. I'm judging you on whether I think you're truthful. Oh, well.
Since we're in the real estate business, we do have to ask you a question in that regard.
I'm paying rent. I pay every month. We used to own we owned what we thought was our own apartment on 57th Street.
Oh, you got out of there.
You were in the worst co-op in New York City. We get calls from people in this building like, we're not going to come over there. We don't want to sell this apartment. It because of the land lease. That land lease was.
You can now get a 9-bedroom apartment for about $200.
That we had a $3 million apartment with 3 bedrooms and a terrace.
Yeah.
And then we discovered that if we really wanted to own the apartment, it would be another $1.5 million. So we moved to 60th Street, and we pay rent.
Nice.
And it's wonderful for Lonnie because it's across the street from the ballet.
Oh, beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
she runs across the street and sees the ballet, and sometimes I actually go with her.
Beautiful.
In fact, most of the time I go with her. And if I didn't go with her, I would get beaten up.
And rightfully so.
The world has changed.
And rightfully so.
It used to be this male-dominant thing.
Well, I think you've just answered because our real estate question is, what do you have a best real estate story, or do you have a worst real estate story?
Yes,
and you just told us them.
You're supposed to make a lot of money in real estate. You know,
They
you
say.
buy it, and I bought it 30 years ago, and I sold it for $5 million.
You know what? Yeah.
But not us.
Well, and not.
We had two properties, that apartment and that building, which I originally bought a one-bedroom. Then when we got married and had children, we had a two-bedroom. Then we sold a two-bedroom and bought a three-bedroom. And we had a house in Connecticut with 17 acres and a stream and a tennis court. And we were there for 35 years. And Lonnie said, it's time to sell it. And she was right. I loved working, you know, planting things, but you get too old to dig the holes, and the kids weren't coming up anymore. So we sold it for virtually what we bought it for. And it was later sold for twice the amount. On the other hand, I invested in rent. We had a sign in the office, if you remember, years ago. It says, do not invest in show business. And the two biggest investments of our life was rent and Hamilton.
Wow.
I invested in rent as an act of loyalty to Kevin and Jeffrey, the producers. And that paid back 20 to 1.
Wow.
To the investor.
You done good. Forget real estate. You got a good real estate story, a bad real estate story. It's
but you must have the real estate stories.
We're having so many conversations with sellers right now because they're in a position. Well, I bought it 10 years ago, and I'm not going to get any. I'm going to lose money. We can't make the numbers. You know, we walk in, they say they want $10 million for the apartment. We show them proof that it's a $5 million apartment. The market dictates the price. Location, location, location. I'm giving you all the rules of real estate.
Well, we have a two-bedroom apartment a little down from Lincoln Center, 1 block down. And we're content. We have an attitude that treat yourself well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not opulent. But when you go to a restaurant and there's something there that costs $48 that should have cost $36, if you really want it,
you go for it.
Yeah, agreed.
That's a great American dream achievement. It's an arrogant one, but because the people who serve you can't afford it. Growing up in the Bronx and Brooklyn, that responsibility and guilt and awareness never leaves you.
I'm shifting gears completely. Where's my little prop? It's a book that we keep in the office because in New York City real estate, Mickey and I often say that we're honorary Jews. We're culturally Jewish. I'm actually threatening to convert from my ex-Catholicism to Judaism, but he's giving me a little trouble on that. We can talk about that at dinner. We have a book that we keep in the office, and we love this book so much we want to talk with you about it for a second and ask you to read something from it. The book is called If You Can't Say Anything Nice, Say It in Yiddish. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious. And it's fun. And we picked out one, you need your spectacles. We picked out one item. This is our favorite one on page 71. And we just want to know if you can read that, do us proud on the Yiddish, and then translate it for us.
No, I can read it. Auf welcher Balkon dir in Kopf. But I don't know what a welcher Balkon is. But it's something in your head. A dir in Kopf. you get it in your head.
May a soft balcony fall on your head.
Yes. It's
right?
There are some great Yiddish expressions.
Oh, that's one of our
and
favorites.
It has the sound of the culture. The best one is been translated, and it's from when you went to college there was always a Hillel something.
Yes.
Well, Hillel was in like the 11th century. He was a rabbi, and he is quoted, "If I am not for me, who will be for me? If I am for myself alone, what am I? If not now, when?" And that's a whole philosophy.
It's beautiful.
And the other one was, he was asked while standing on one foot to describe what Judaism is. He said, "Do unto others. All the rest is commentary. Now go home and study." Do unto others. It's a variation of, and you can take a whole philosophy. You don't have to convert. You just take that philosophy. If I'm not for me, who will be for me? If I'm for myself alone, what am I? If not now, when? So that line in Hebrew is, Im lo achshav matai, if not now. And it's used endlessly. So when you're hesitant about something, when? It's a good one. I like it.
I like it. I love it. I'm converting.
Tonight?
No, I love
No. What you have to
can't do
go,
that
what
at
you have to
Patson's.
go through to convert is.
Yeah.
I spent when I was in the army, I would go to mass constantly. I could genuflect with the best of them.
Yeah. You took comfort in that, obviously.
Well, we'll conclude with this story.
Okay.
My best roommate in the army was a devout Catholic. Bill Hogarty was an all-American athlete. And he would go to church all the time, and he was a firm believer. And he behaved as correctly. So it was Mother's Day, and we were in Honolulu. But the military post is up at Schofield Barracks, which is about 30 miles into the mountains. And he said, "We're going to church today." And he threw my bed over. I remember going, "Bill, Saturday, Sunday." And it was Sunday, Mother's Day. I said, "Okay. Now, if you go, you have to put on a Class A uniform. You don't go like a schlepper." So we drive up to the post, and we go to church, and I said, "Bill, let's sit in the back." He said, "Officers sit in the front," and we go down, and we're in the first pew. And on our left is General McGee, who's a general, and we're rinky-dink lieutenants. Well, the chaplain was a friend of ours, Father Rusnock, and he smoked a cigar. He was a foxhole chaplain, and he contended that whenever he gave a sermon, not a homily today, but in those days it was a sermon, and if it was the Old Testament, Lieutenant Azenberg, he's the one who wrote it, and it was total nonsense. And he thought it was fun, and he was a good guy.
Okay.
So the mass begins. The general looks over and says, "It's the Jewish lieutenant." Who's, and he's a general. Yeah. There are only 3 generals on the post. And Father Rusnock comes out and winks. And the general sees this. And he gives a sermon about Mary, because it's Mother's Day, which concluded with, "And Mary achieved the fulfillment of every Jewish maiden." So when the mass is over, the priest goes down, right? And then ranking officers go first. So the general goes, and then the other guys. And by the time we got out, the general is talking to Father Rusnak, and you salute, "Good morning, sir." And Rusnak says to the general, "Wasn't Azenberg's sermon good?" And it was total bullshit. So we were treated so well. The Catholic kid and the Jewish kid, this is a very close unit. This is a jungle unit. And when we left, we were treated to an honor guard ceremony and asked to stay as regular army. And Hogarty went on to play baseball for the Washington Senators.
Wow.
And I went into the theater. We stayed in contact with our commanding officer for his whole life, 40 years. And Lonnie and I went to his funeral at West Point. There's a whole other existence. I knew how to kill people.
Yeah.
And if I would have used that in the theater, I could have been a star.
You could have been somebody.
Right. And there were some people that should be killed. And I knew how to do it.